they have a special treat because we have a silver producer. Amazing. And we have Jorge Ramiro Monroy, who is a friend of many years. So I'd like to leave there.
Thank you, Paola, for hosting us. As Paola mentioned, we've known her for many years. And very nice to meet all of you. Thank you for making the time to come to listen to our presentation. I'll make a quick introduction about myself. I'm originally from Mexico, but I've been in Hong Kong for the past 20 years. And my business partner, Martin Planklin, is here as well. We've made a business out of looking for projects in North America, and typically at a time where the market, was not necessarily loving the commodity, cultivating the assets privately, and then at the right time, taking the company public. Starting in 2014, we started to focus a lot on silver. Just coming back from that crash in 2013, silver prices fluctuated between $13 and $15. At that time, most of the companies were willing to do deals, for very cheap terms. So at that point, we formed two private companies, one Sierra Madre Gold and Silver, which I will speak to you about today. But we also formed a company called Reina Silver, which, we took two assets from Mag Silver, ended up getting two more assets in Nevada. And we just sold that company last month to Torex for $40 million. Also another company that I was founding director of called Prime Mining, and which Alex Langer, and the CEO of Sierra Madre, and Greg Yealer, the chairman of Sierra Madre, were also founding directors. We sold that company as well to Torex Gold for $450 million in the same month, the same company. And then, this is the company that we started in 2016 as a private company. We bought an asset called Tepic, which I'll speak a little bit about towards the end of the presentation. Went public in 2021, raised $12 million at roughly post IPO, started with a $22 million market cap. In 2022, we had the opportunity of buying an asset from First Majestic for shares called La Guitarra. It was a mine that First Majestic had in production, and they put it on care and maintenance in 2019 because, again, silver prices were below production cost. The production costs in this mine are around $18, $19 per ounce. So, silver at 15, they decided to shut it down. And then we were able to do a deal with First Majestic for shares. So First Majestic owns a good chunk of Sierra Madre Gold and Silver. I'll go to the cash structure. But, with that small introduction, we're here because we want to increase awareness of our company. And also because we have a non-core asset called Tepic, which is an asset that we went originally public with, that we're thinking of doing a spin out here in the ASX. Those are the primary reasons for the visit. So let me just fast forward to the management. The chairman of the company is Greg Yealer. He has put 8 mines into production, 6 of them in Mexico, including he's the one who put La Guitarra, our current mine that we bought from First Majestic. He put in production for the first time with the company that eventually sold it to First Majestic. So very successful. He's a geologist, but basically has made a career of putting mines into production. Then we have Alex Langer, who is the CEO of the company and the founder of the company. He's been involved with a number of successful companies that you might be familiar with. He was one of the founders of Millennial Lithium, which got sold a couple of years ago. He was also a co-founder of Prime Mining, which I mentioned to you. Also co-founder of Reina Silver, the company that we sold last month. And he's also the founder of Lift Power, which is a lithium company that some of you might be familiar with. It's having quite a big run. So So very strong technical and capital markets team. I am also a co-founder. I'm the lead director of the company. Since selling Vena Silver, the company that I was the CEO of, I've now joining the team at Sierra Madre to essentially look to grow the company. And I'll speak to you a little bit about it. Another key person is Alejandro Canavero, who's one of our directors and our main operator in Mexico. He has been together with Greg Miller his whole career. And as a mining operator, he's basically put 6 mines into production in Mexico. So let me talk to you about La Guitarra. This is an amazing asset. First one, Justin did a great job putting a whole district together. So we do have the mine that was in the current maintenance. But one important thing to share in this slide is that we control a big district that has 8 forward producing mines. It started with La Guitarra, but in the last year, we opened 2 other mines, Nazareno and Coloso, and I'll speak to you a little bit more during the presentation. But we just raised $20 million in August from Fidelity and Eric Sprott. And with that money, the plan is to triple production. We started production in January 2025. We're going to finish the year with 1 million ounces of silver in production. And our plan is to triple production in under 2 years. We're going to bring it to about 1.8 million ounces of silver by the end of 2026, and then 3 million ounces of silver by the end of 2027. We are able to do this with under $10 million in capex. So it's, again, we're chatting about Mexico, and it almost sounds too good to be true, but we put the mine back into production essentially with a $10 million loan from First Majestic, plus about $5 million in equity. And we did that in under a year. So we were under time, under budget, great team. And I'll speak to you a little bit more about our plans. So our resources, we have just under 50 million ounce resource coming from La Guitarra and the other 2 mines that we opened. However, a very clear path to get to over 100 million ounces. We do have a 30 million ounce open pit resource that's in the property, and it's not counted towards this resource. And as you know, basically open pit permitting is a little bit hard at the moment. However, we have a plan to be able to mine it from underground. At the same time that we're going to pursue the open pit permit. But realistically, we think we can extract at least 10 million ounces from underground. The project historically had a 200 million ounce resource. So we're very, very comfortable that, with the work we're going to do this season. Plus, we're using, even for the existing resource, we're using quite a high cut-off grade. Our resource was done using basically a case scenario of $27 silver. Obviously, before we had this big move in silver. So, I think 100 million is sort of for if you follow silver stocks, is sort of the like a very important psychological barrier, both for investors as well as for mining companies who are looking to do an acquisition. And we're very comfortable that we can get to that number. As we execute our plan, we have so I think I mentioned this already. It's we started the company with a 500 ton per day plant. Maybe to talk about the grade, our grade's about 220 grams per ton silver equivalent. The resource is predominantly silver. However, the last year we encountered pockets of gold that we did not know were there. So that actually was very useful for us because gold prices were so high. So I think our production for the first 2 quarters of last year was kind of 50-50 gold and silver. But the resource is predominantly in silver. It just happened that we encountered pockets of gold that we would not. We're not in the resource, but of course, that was a very welcome surprise. So we're working on a 3-prong approach strategy, which is the increasing the production, tripling production over the next 18 months. Number 2, we're looking at district scale exploration. I'm going to speak in more detail about that in a different slide. And the third, the open pit opportunity that I mentioned to you, which is quite significant as well. So, we produced roughly 200,000 ounces of silver in the first beginning of the year. We were able to produce those ounces at around $33 per ounce. The last 2 quarters, last quarter and this quarter, our production costs shoots up to $30 per ounce because we're doing development work. However, we'll be able to bring that down to below $20 starting in January of 2026. And then we think that will be our floor for production cost. $50 per ounce really is a crazy margin. I think we can see here we did we milled 41 million tons in the first half of the year. We recovered 76% silver, 77% gold. We're working to increase our recoveries in both as we, keep in mind the first two quarters was the ramp up of the mine. I think we declared full commercial production after Q2. So this is an expansion plans that I mentioned. We're going to do it in 2 phases. As I mentioned to you, we're able to triple production with 10 million in capex. Basically, what we're doing is adding a volume, adding circuits, and increasing the capacity of the mill initially to 800 tons per day from 500 to 800, and then eventually to 1,200 to maybe up to 1,500 tons per day. Now let me tell you a little bit about the exploration. This obviously is a very exciting part of the whole strategy, and something that's very unique because we're going to be able to do this exploration just from cash flow. You don't have to raise money. The plan is all ready to go, and the most exciting targets we have are El Rincon and Mina de Agua, which are 2 historic mines. El Rincon specifically was a historic producer in the 1900s that produced with a head grade of 600 tons silver and 20 grams per ton gold. It's an underground mine. There's already an adit there. Of course, there's not a resource. We're going to go and drill, but it is a mine that we should be able to open production from there, and it'll be quite high grade. So this one is something to watch for because we will start drilling this year, and it will be a significant source of news. And again, like we'll be able to deliver exceptionally high grade results because we have very comprehensive production records of when it was in production, lasting exceptionally high grades. We're planning a 20,000 meter drill campaign focused on the 2 historic producers. The current underground production is coming from 3 historic mines, La Guitarra, which is where the plant is right underneath, and then Colosio and La Serena, which are the 2 mines that we opened this year. Each of them has roughly the historic mines. We already have a 2 million ounce silver resource in each, but of course we're going to also look to increase that. We have a $5 million loan from First Majestic, which the term loan is 15 per annum. We use that to restart the project, and then we'll be looking to repay that in the next couple of years. Then other than that, we're debt free. which is really pretty amazing when you think about it, to have this level of production, with such little CapEx. And, it is the case where we'll be able to, to deliver, we're already cash flow positive. We'll be able to deliver 20,000 meters of exploration. We will look at increasing our resource and our production. So that's the key points on La Guitarra, which is our main market. If I can just, we have about 260 million market cap. We are, at least in the Canadian market, what investors are looking at is obviously your production, your number of ounces, your margin, and your resource. And we think it is going to be a significant re-rate as we move from, once you break that 3 million ounce production, you do get into a significant producer within the Mexican market. You definitely become an attractive acquisition target. First Majestic, I'll show you the exact ownership, but they own a significant percentage of the company. So I'm not sure if at some point they look at us and their market cap has increased dramatically, their cash has increased dramatically. So as we execute on our plan, we may become attractive for them to acquire us. But if they don't, we will look to expand. We have a lot of opportunities within our district to really mature into a mid-tier silver producer. I wanted to talk about the Tepic project. This is the project that I was telling you about. It was an original project. It's in the La Guitarra is in center of Mexico, 2 hours south of Mexico City. This project is in the west side of the country. You guys probably never been there, but it's a very famous tourist town called Puerto Vallarta. It's a town where there's close to 500,000 Americans and Canadians who go to retire there. Our project from the Puerto Vallarta airport to the project is about an hour and a half, close to a city called Tepic. The project is also called Tepic. Tepic itself is a medium-sized city that has 2 or 3 flights a day from Vancouver, because again, it's a big retirement town for Canadians. We have this is the project that we went public with. We were able to go public at a $25 million market cap. With this project, we traded up to, I think, close to 60 million market cap. It's a project that has a foundational resource of about 11 million ounces. We did significant drilling last in 2021. You can see some of the highlights here. The best interval was 6 meters of 300 gas per ton silver with 0.96 grams gold, almost a half a kilo equivalent. It's a project we did not have the 20 drill holes to the resource. This one had a historic resource of up to 200 million ounces. Again, it's the resource that's there is using a very high cut-off grade because of silver prices at the time. So it's an exciting project. It has a number of opportunities that are surrounding the project. There's a mill that's available, within 6 kilometers from the project. A number of at least half a dozen small producing mines that don't have a resource without any production with high grade silver that we can acquire and use just as a milling facility for our project. And then, we're going to be very focused on La Guitarra for silver silver for the next 2 years. And one of the alternatives and one of the reasons why Michael, my business partner, and I are here is we're looking at the possibility of taking that asset to the ASX into a new vehicle. So, if anybody's interested in that, do talk to us. It's something we're looking to do in the next couple of months. And, part of our thinking is, very few stories here in the ASX for silver. And, to have the opportunity of bringing a high-grade silver opportunity it's going to be focused on a similar strategy that we're doing in La Guitarra, taking a district, looking at building a resource, but fast-tracking it to production and then using the the cash flows, which, you can see from La Guitarra, it's just an incredible business when you have silver at $50 a year producing for 20. There's just an incredible margins and gives you the opportunity of having production while at the same time expanding the resource. We've drilled only 3 kilometers of strike, but our team has some cover in the exploration that we did in 2021 and 2022. We uncovered 15 kilometers of strike within our property. So it's again, can't emphasize enough how incredible Mexico is for silver. Just to give you some examples, because, Michael and I have done work now in Nevada, Mexico, and Argentina. You have great projects in Argentina, but they're at 5,000 meters altitude, very tough to drill, very expensive to drill. No offense, Paola, I was the Argentina government.
Oh, what is that? Well, yeah.
But honestly,
let's not do that.
but it's not necessarily the easiest place
we
to.
can all do, like we can have all.
Yeah, no, let's do it that way.
Let's do that.
If Paola brings a Argentinian company, you go and invest in it.
Yeah.
Nevada, again, amazing projects, but incredibly difficult to like very, very expensive. Also for people like us, raising Canadian or Australian dollars, and the US dollar has just been very strong. Inflation in the US in the mining business has been exceptional. And then Mexico, what's incredible about it is you have 500 years of mined by the Spanish. And so like almost every district that you stay, even without just blindly staking it, you start finding, historic mine after historic mine. And that is very much the case in 2 projects that we have. We have mines that were in production all the way to the 1920s and the 30s. And really, it's like they've done millions of dollars of, think of it as a sampling, it tells you about the metallurgy. It tells you about they leave the tailings there, and you get a tailings where like the average grade of the tailings is like 600 grams per ton, because 600 grams per ton was of no interest to them, because they're mining 1.5 kilos. Geologically, Mexico is incredible. You do have to, obviously a security issue, various parts of the country. Both of the places that we are in are not affected by any significant security issues. The points of basically the areas where you have conflict is when you're sort of in the border between 2 cartels and you're fighting for territory. But even in those areas, you're able to operate. To give an example, Prime Mining, the company that we're talking about, that just got sold to Corex, is like literally smack in the middle of a battle between 2 cartels, and it's never had any problems. Vizsla Silver, which many of you may be familiar with, it's also right in cartel territory in the middle of and they're able to advance the project, finance it, no problems. I think here in Australia, people are not quite as understanding of the dynamics. Fair enough, it's quite far away. But I think one thing you can do is just look at the Canadian market. There's something like 150 assets owned by TSX listed companies in Mexico. And, it's a very special place in terms of, like finding the infrastructure in Mexico, because we're a big manufacturing country. Almost every project will have access to road. You don't have to build a camp ever. All your labor force lives in town. Most of the time, you're able to bring local people who are mining engineers, geologists who either already live in town or they move there for the project. So it really has. When you look at, you're able to bring projects to production for a fraction of the cost, with margins that are, orders of magnitude of what it would be in other jurisdictions.
If you enjoyed this, stay tuned for a full-on presentation that is going to be live in our channel very soon.